Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to this beautiful day. Just felt that we're just going to drop straight in. And so if you're nice and comfortable, as you get comfortable and if you can minimize any distractions, it's really going to support your capacity to be able to receive the depth of this information. Even if you're not able to at this time, sometimes when you go back to listen to the recordings again, there'll actually be other layers, that come through to your awareness. And I generally find that it happens when it is helping to support another layer of understanding for what's happening within your own contemplations and a reflection through your own life. And so I find these transmissions aren't static. And as you do revisit them, you will find that you will hear different layers of information and receive them receive them in different ways too, as we continue on this growth and expansion that's here for us now, as this beautiful human collective. And so we're just going to take a moment. Come to your breath, come to your beautiful center, that beautiful center of the universe that is deep within. And as you connect in with that, seeing if you can connect in with that possibility that this energy exists within all things. And so you are not separate. Things contain source energy because that's how things come into creation. And as you breathe a little more deeply into that, maybe you can feel that field of awareness expanding a little more. And as you breathe into that, in that contemplation, what does that mean for you? Interconnectedness. And even more so, that capacity to remember that you're not separate. You're not separate living an isolated existence, even though this is how it can feel at times. For when we arrive in an incarnation, we need to slow down our light body frequency, our higher self frequency, enough to be able to come into physical form. This is basic molecular science, that the slower something is moving or the slower it's vibrating, the lower its frequency, the more solid the structure becomes. And so when we're moving from our beautiful benevolent light body self, moving down through the densities, the dimensional densities, to come into this, I don't want to use the term lowest because it's not lower or higher. It's actually a matter of expansion more than hierarchical, higher and lower. And, interestingly, this higher and lower is only an aspect in this third dimensional reality. But what happens is, as we come into this physical this physical plane of reality, that we actually do slow down our frequency enough to take physical form. But by doing that, we forget. We forget a lot of the information that's in the quantum field, that is in the greater reality. And mostly we forget the truth of who we are as these light beings that have chosen to come in to have this earth realm experience. And, when we sit from the space of the suffering that happens in this realm, we can often wonder why we would even come back. Why would we consciously make the choice as benevolent light beings to come to return here? And in the greater reality, because there isn't a good or bad, there is only perceptions. There is only levels of perception that is seen through, like the old saying, the eyes of the beholder. And so, depending on one's own past experiences, but also one's level of actualization or level of journey back to remembering that they are highest light, will determine how any particular situation is seen, felt, and interpreted. And so situations themselves are not good or bad. Situations themselves are not static because they are however they are perceived by the observer. And yes, this sounds very quantum mechanics because it is. And that's what they've showed in those double slit experiments, that it takes the observer to create the experience. And so when we can sit in any situation, coming back to our highest light and perceiving through the lens of highest light, the picture looks very different to how it looks when we're stressed, when, we've been running stories about lower realm experiences through our minds and through our hearts. And in those instances, when we are unable to access higher light, then the perception of that same situation is going to be very different. And I'm sure you've all had this experience before. And so, it feels why this is being brought forward is because it is such a key, pivotal remembrance. It's like many of these, if not all, of these greater reality awarenesses and understandings is that they're simple, but not always easy. It's simple because it was never meant to be that complicated. So it's simple, but what's not easy is to change habits. Change habits from being born into a collective that has forgotten, born into a collective that has gone on to create a whole lot of mass programs and embedded those through their belief in lack, limitation, suffering, separation. All of those things that are a programmed reality. And if you've been listening to, my sharings for a while, or, been listening to things about the greater reality by, lots of other wonderful, channels and creators that are here at the moment, at this time, for the reason to share this so that you can remember. And, often when we hear something, it becomes more felt a lot of the time before it is understood. And that feeling is a feeling of truth because it is something that you already know. And the reason that that's there as that frequency is to open the invitation for you to perceive, for the opportunity to perceive in a different way. And this is literally the differences in dimensional density are shifts in perception. And so where the old world, the old earth, is sitting in all of the lack and suffering and victim and helplessness and hopelessness, waiting for something on the outside to always come and save us, this is what has become, or became, because it's past tense now, became the disempowerment. It became the extinguishing of our connection to our own light in every way possible, slowly but surely over the last couple of millennia. Even, I'm not going to go into it, but even from, the burnings of the witches, the persecutions that were even happening a long time before that, when people wouldn't, do as they're told, or, continue to be in fear so that, the people extinguishing the lights or the people taking other people's power were the ones that continued to benefit. And so if you take a moment to zoom out from that, you can see how that's still happening in today's world. It's a repeating pattern. And in this stickiness of the density of this milieu of this third dimensional reality, is that repeating patterns is what has kept the same cycles happening over and over and over, which is why now it's time for change. It is time for this great awakening, because how much more could the earth continue in the trajectory without access to its own light and its own sovereignty? And so the reason there is a mass awakening that's been happening slowly but surely, is what is ensuring stability in the potential for the new earth to come into even more full of a creation. And it's already happening, because more and more are waking up all the time. More and more are starting to open their curiosity in wonderment of what else there is out there. The beautiful thing is, because we are a collective energy, that those of us that are doing the work to clear the old stories within us so we can remember the truth of who we are, is making it easier for everybody else as well. And so most of you, if not all, that are still here listening to this at this point in time are on the healing path. And the beauty of this is that we're not just doing it for ourselves. Because we are a collective, we are changing a paradigm. And so don't get disheartened at any time when it feels rough. That's actually why we've come, because we can. We are capable of transmuting huge patterns of information. And they start with transmuting them within our own energy field and within our own lives. But the ripple that happens from that isn't just shifting our own life, it's shifting that pattern of information, that pattern of self-loathing, or that pattern of mistrust, or that pattern of abandonment, which are some of the major ones, that pattern of victimhood, and that reclaiming of sovereignty, that reclaiming of one's own truth, is where we're headed more and more. And so it is such an exciting time when the perception is seen from the light, from what is actually happening. And in the density, because again, everything's moving more slowly as a lower frequency realm, is that it feels like things take a long time, because in the greater reality, they do, compared to working in the, in higher realms and, working with different layers of energy. So energy shifts quickly, but it's the physical, the density, that can take a little bit longer, for that to come into creation. And so, please keep heart that any little part of a contribution of reclaiming your light is adding to this massive awakening, this collective ascension process, because we aren't separate. And we're moving back towards this unity consciousness, which is this greater awareness of the illusion in the suffering, the remembering that we're not that. Even experiences that we may have, or experiences that we may be sitting in this moment, that feel less than, that do feel like suffering and pain, know that they are not you. And this is another important key. We are not our pain and suffering. We are experiencing various things, various opportunities for growth, opportunities to be able to expand our awareness for our evolution. To come to a human experience, to come to a human existence, is to feel. This is a potent aspect of physicality, is feeling. And it is one of the reasons why it is so highly sought after in the energetic realms. To have a physical feeling experience, a tangible physical experience, is in of itself. And depending how we navigate through our perception in using our feelings, working with our feelings, will determine the layer of experience that we're allowing ourselves to have in any moment. Being able to walk in the forest, to go to the beach, to be with loved ones. These things are physical density experiences. Remembering that our great mother Gaia is already heaven can be an anchor. It can be an anchor for us to recognize more and more that everything we desire is already here for us. It's not like we need to go anywhere to receive peace of mind, peace of heart, peace in our nervous system. It's about allowing that to be as it is in this now moment, which is bringing more and more into stability our higher dimensional reality field. So it's already there. You know, where we are as a collective is that we have the third density reality that's still there, but the more of us that unplug from it and start to plug more and more into our fifth dimensional reality and higher dimensional realities, is that this is crumbling. This is starting to destabilize, which is, you know, why even though we're seeing fewer and fewer wars, there still are, because those in power are losing their grip. They're losing their grip and are still continuing to try to assert fear, because fear is the opposite of love. Fear is the opposite of love and light. And the center of this universe is unconditional love. And when we have fear, we're the furthest away from that. And so I'm not negating, you know, any pain and suffering that is happening in places, but there's always a reason for everything, to bring the next generations through to enlightenment. These generations in these areas where there's war already know that this isn't the way to solve problems. Last millennium, those in power always thought it was the way to solve problems, and the rest of the collective would just hide and hope it didn't involve them. These uprisings that are happening with the new generation is through their desire to say enough's enough. And so that's change in itself. It may not look like it from the perspective of the media and all of the other perspectives that are happening around different things, but at its core essence, it is destabilizing even further the darkness that held those hierarchies before. And so just taking a moment to breathe into that. And so wherever we are in any time or place or space within our own lives, we get to choose. We get to choose how we perceive what is happening. And how we perceive creates how we feel. And how we feel creates our energetic frequency. And how we feel most of the time is based around how we perceive most of the time, which creates the energy that we're imprinting into the world around us. And because in its simplest form, energy magnetizes itself. And this is big. Again, simple, but not easy to realize while we're getting caught up in the unawareness that we were born into. It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault because we were never taught any of this. But now, with more and more of it coming to light, we actually do get to choose. As we hold the presence within our choices and keep coming back to what would love do? What would love do? Stepping back and asking your higher self wisdom from that space of heart, what am I not seeing? What is this greater reality? What are all these other angles, the 100 million other angles around one central event? What is the greater essence of that? Rather than getting too caught into mine, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. This is the limitation of the old, to feel safe by holding on to the last remaining parts of our sovereignty through our beliefs. But it's because what's happened. It's because what's happened through the cycles of darkness and light. That's another aspect of the greater reality. Everything is as it should be. Sounds big, because it is. The cycles of darkness and light. To come back to light, moving through the darkness, potentizes light, defines light, and creates it more stably than ever before. Because when there is an awareness of what is not light, then the light takes even more stable form. And so the greater reality of all of that is everything is happening as it's meant to as well. When we fall into the fear, it is creating a disconnection to our deeper knowing, that deeper knowing within, that being able to hold your own higher self beingness through that unconditional love and through the faith that binds that all together. And so the offer is to not bypass when there is pain and suffering in your life or in your perception in any moment. The offer is more to go deeper, not to avoid it, because that has never been helpful, because then it still exists, but to really go deeper. What does that mean for me? Why am I feeling this way in this moment? Is there something that I can change? Is there a different way I can act or react? Is there a different perception I can allow myself to expand to receive? And in that open inquiry, coming from this space, you will know. You will know. Seen through the eyes of light is seeing through that higher perspective from that more expanded awareness. Just taking a moment to breathe into that. And then coming back to your divine light. So if you can connect in with your light for 5 minutes a day, everything's going to shift. Everything will shift by starting through shifting your own energy, your own frequency, which then shifts perception as well. So they're both very integrally related, because our perception creates our feelings, which creates our energy. But our energy also creates our perception, because it determines the level through which we are witnessing, depends on our energetic frequency. So if we are witnessing from pain and suffering, we will see pain and suffering. When we allow ourselves to start to witness through higher and higher perceptive realities, we start to see more and more of this greater reality that's always here as well. And so I just wanted to, I was feeling into just before this, before I came on, and a beautiful practice did come through. So we're going to work with the divinities, and these are really beautiful frequencies that we can use to remember these parts of us that are already this. They are something that has been very elusive. So the frequencies of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So they have been very elusive through all of the pain and suffering. But they do exist. They do exist as frequencies, and they do exist as already parts of us. And when we connect with these higher frequencies, they remind us at a cellular level of these energies that already exist within us. And so again, they become more easy to stabilize and reconnect back in with. And so if you want to take a moment and get nice and comfortable, then once you're comfortable, closing down your eyes, if you can, and then coming to your breath as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, it's taking the opportunity to feel that. Feel your beautiful breath. And as you slow the breath down, helping you to arrive into this moment. Connecting with how that's feeling for you. And if you're noticing anything that isn't feeling in alignment for you at this time, just holding that in honor of what's there and in honor of it offering you an opportunity for growth and evolution. You take another big breath into that. And as you exhale, softening. And on your next inhale, maybe feeling even more spaciousness. As you exhale, a surrender. And as you come even more into presence, imagining now that being created around you is a scene, a beautiful scene in nature or a scene in a temple. Just allow whatever is there for you to start to come into your awareness. Finding a comfortable seat within that. And so as this beautiful scene starts to appear more and more, or in your knowing, seeing what you notice. what's around you. And then noticing how that feels. Noticing how this place feels for you. Taking a few big breaths into that. And as you soften even more with the breath, noticing yourself becoming one with this space, where the energy of you and the space intermingle. Noticing how that feels. You start to notice now a beautiful blue light starting to swirl down from the heavens, start to swirl down all around your energy field. And this blue ray light holds the frequency of the divine masculine. This divine masculine holds the energy of safety and support. It is that holding that allows you to know that you're being looked out for. This energy of Father Sky, the overseer of all, is always looking out for you, is always ensuring that you're going to be okay. And as you breathe into that, it's feeling this beautiful blue light holding you with that strength that you feel held. You feel held in that knowing that you are always supported, even when it doesn't seem like it. That allowing of the unfoldment as to why things need to be moved through at different points in time or not. There's always a choice. So as you continue to breathe into that beautiful blue light, there's just some fine misted sparkles moving through that as well. And as those beautiful sparkles arrive onto your physical, they're creating a reweaving of the knowing of this within your now experience, within this human realm incarnation. Allowing yourself to receive that. Notice how that feels. Notice if there is any resistance. Come back to your breath. You create some more spaciousness as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, a softening and allowing for yourself to be supported. Allowing the support to be there for you. this shimmery, fine, sparkly energy, almost like creating a coating now of your physical, helping you to feel held and know that you're safe and supported, and to know that you don't have to hold it all because you are also being held by the universe. So you take a few more breaths into that. And while that continues, have a beautiful, vibrant pink ray energy now is coming up from the earth, up through your feet, through your sit bones, and weaving all through the inside of your body, spiraling and dancing just gently all through your body. This pink ray light of the divine feminine is this energy of unconditional, of deep compassion. And in its unconditional, it means no matter what. She holds this deepest compassion no matter what. That's also compassion for the self. Just breathing into that and allow yourself to receive that loving embrace from the divine feminine. As she holds that compassion no matter what. So you continue to breathe into that, allowing that energy to move through. And feeling that, noticing how that feels for you, and again, noticing if there's any resistances, particularly in the receiving of that unconditional compassion from yourself that is this divine feminine energy. The greatest strength, of this frequency is faith. She doesn't need to have strength in muscle and power. Her power is in faith because she knows that everything's going to turn out okay. She knows it's all working in her favor, even when it doesn't seem like it. And as you take a few more big, deep breaths into this beautiful, luminous pink light, as it moves through all parts of you, through all of your cells, all the way into your DNA, activating that re-remembering of this divine feminine essence that is at your very core. As this beautiful divine masculine blue light is still surrounding you and immersing you and holding you, this beautiful luminous pink of the divine feminine deep within, shimmery, translucent metallic sparkle just at that interface. It's reweaving the presence of both of these energies to be with you in harmony. Balance of both. I'm seeing some beautiful green weave through that metallic interface. And the green ray is a beautiful green ray healing. It's a healing ray. So this interface is not just operating in this physical realm, it is also working between your physical experience and your spirit. Part of you that is already the greater reality, helping to reunify that space so that you can know and access more easily that part of you, because it is already you. Breaths into that, just allowing yourself to still be immersed in the beautiful divine masculine energy, the divine feminine. Translucent, shiny interface. An interface that's supporting the bridging at this very auspicious time in Earth's collective history. As you take a few more breaths here, just to finish off, I invite you to go right into the very center of your heart, connecting with your light that's as bright as a star. And as you breathe into it, bringing that forward. Bringing that forward so it's shining out from your center. In the other harmonizing frequencies, but you standing as your light, feeling that safety, feeling that unconditional love. So as you take a few more breaths here, and you are welcome to stay immersed in these frequencies as long as you like. Only when you're ready, and when you're ready, as you take your time and bring yourself back into the moment, bringing all of those beautiful light codes back with you. Sending you all my love.